I honestly was not planning on live streaming today, but we have just gotten bomb after bomb after bomb. Rodgers signs with the Steelers. 5 other relevant news pieces that we're going to have to look at as well. And all of which are going to be impacting fantasy football drafts starting on June 5th. Let's get in here. I need to share my location with Underdog. Just in case y'all didn't see, Underdog did drop a new tournament. Again, if you're new, make sure you're getting in like the $5, the $3 tournaments. But they dropped a single entry Greyhound. This is a $35 buy-in, $200,000 prize pool, $30,000 to first place, yada, yada, yada. We are going to hop in this right this second, and I'm just going to get it in on my phone, to be completely honest with you, because like I said, my computer, since we got to this Airbnb, has been messing with my location. So I want to just make sure that we are in here with no problem. And we are going to be in the 22nd draft. It looks like that draft is starting right now. I may update some rankings during this live stream as well, because clearly we have the very obvious movers, such as DK Metcalf, Caleb Johnson, Pat Frymuth, Aaron Rodgers himself. But we have some ways the board's going to adjust that you need to be ready for right this second. And we'll talk about all of this. But maybe the first thing that we can look to do, happy to see the lads are out here with us, is maybe we can look at DK Metcalf's ranking on our site at the moment and see where I need to be adjusting this. Because previous to Rodgers signing, obviously this was always rumored. Obviously this was always on the radar. But the Pittsburgh Steelers were a team that had the worst or the second worst quarterback room in the entire NFL. So when we were viewing DK Metcalf, it was like, okay, very little target competition, good receiver, but garbage offense, garbage quarterback play. Now that should be very, very different. Looking at where I previously had Metcalf in our ranks, I had DK Metcalf all the way down to wide receiver 29. I have not been drafting DK Metcalf. This looks like a massive error on my part, and I need to be moving DK Metcalf up dramatically. I would honestly rather have Metcalf over Sutton now. I think you could make an argument for Metcalf over the rookie receivers. I think Metcalf goes in the tier of like Xavier Worthy, Mike Evans, to be completely honest. Like looking at my ranks, I think I may need to end up putting DK Metcalf for sure as a top 24 wide receiver. Realistically, he probably needs to be ahead of Xavier Worthy. I'd put them in the same tier. However, I think Metcalf's right after like Adams, Terry, Evans, and then you put DK, because we should be a little realistic, right? While, of course, Aaron Rodgers is significantly better than what we're previously projecting for this offense in Pittsburgh, it's not like Rodgers is the quarterback that he once was. Like, we can go ahead and we can pull this up, and we can see that Aaron Rodgers is going to turn 42 at the end of this season. He's 41 now, turns 42 in December, and is 2 years now removed from a torn Achilles. We can go through and you can look at all this on the site, of course, but main number to pay attention to with quarterbacks, at least in my mind, is actually going to be the adjusted yards per pass attempt, which let me move my little box so you can see this yourself. Aaron Rodgers' adjusted yards per pass attempt was at 6.3 this past season. 6.4 the previous full year that we had from Rodgers, which is significantly lower than what we had back when Rodgers was an elite quarterback. Like, you can go back to 2020. Rodgers was elite this season. Like, in 2020, this is the year Rodgers throws 42 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions. We don't have this Aaron Rodgers anymore. But if you look at what Rodgers was in comparison to some of these other options in Pittsburgh, it is still a significant upgrade. And if we're going to go through and look at what happened with Garrett Wilson last season, which of course Garrett Wilson was very disappointing. If y'all remember, we have Danny in this live stream, so we can shout out Bush, thinking that Rodgers was going to elevate Wilson to be ahead of Justin Jefferson. Like, people were crazy high on Garrett Wilson last year, and ultimately he disappointed. He was the wide receiver 22 from a points per game perspective. But still, at the same time, this was a dramatic improvement over any other season of Garrett Wilson's career. Wilson still had 100 receptions, 1,100 receiving yards, and you did have to deal with Devontae Adams in that same offense as well. Where we can pull up what you have now with the, dear God, we'll take T. Higgins here. You can pull up now what we have with the depth chart for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you can see that there's almost no competition whatsoever. Now, obviously, there's some guys that go in round 18 of underdog drafts at wide receiver here, but DK Metcalf is right alongside, I guess I didn't even know Robert Woods was on the team. I would say Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin are the other receivers in this offense. So Metcalf has no target competition. While Rodgers, of course, is not prime Rodgers, I don't necessarily think he's going to be that much worse than what DK Metcalf had with Geno Smith. Now, y'all know I'm not a super big fan of Metcalf, where we can go through and you can look at what DK Metcalf has actually given you from a fantasy football perspective. Through his entire NFL career, he's had one season where he really moved the needle for you. He's had 1 year in 2020 where he was the wide receiver 9 in points per game. Outside of that, 31, 22, 25, 22, 34. So Metcalf has kind of always been mid. Not only has Metcalf always been mid, actually, we're going to go Garrett Wilson. I don't think week 17 bring back matters in a smaller tournament. But he's always kind of been overdrafted. Because again, I know we've said this 1,000 times, but people look at DK Metcalf and they go, this dude is 6'4", jacked as hell. We can pull up the picture from when he was going through the draft process, and everybody wanted to look at him and go, oh my gosh, this guy could be the next Mason Dodd. He has the frame. He looks almost identical to him. A lot of people were comping DK Metcalf, 2 years truly, going, I can't tell the difference between these two guys here. And not A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf and yours truly. But in reality, the fantasy production's never really been there. So I was lower than consensus on DK Metcalf before this signing. I had him as a high-end wide receiver 3. After this signing, though, I think you easily have to have him as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Possibly a mid wide receiver 2 and not just a low-end wide receiver 2. Now, I know a lot of people are going to lose their minds going, oh my gosh, a mid wide receiver 2, that's disrespectful. If DK Metcalf's a mid wide receiver 2 this season, it'll be the second best year that he's ever had from a fantasy perspective. So we'll see where Metcalf goes here. I think you're on DK Metcalf watch the second you get in the 4th round. And obviously, I know that people are probably thinking, Mason, why the hell are we drafting a fantasy football team in June? For the 1% of people who don't know this is best ball. These are drafts that take no time requirement. Kyron Williams in the 4th round is just free money. That is insane. This team at 10 is ridiculous. How the hell is this team at 10 even possible? But these are best ball drafts. No time commitment at all during the season. It's called Underdog Fantasy, and they're the largest fantasy football tournaments on the planet. It's not going to replace your main fantasy football league, just going to be some extra fun on the side. And yeah, so just as an example, if we take Justin Jefferson here in round 1, and then I grab Roman Wilson in round 18, and Justin Jefferson on the 3rd play of week 1 goes down with a high ankle sprain, Roman Wilson randomly scores a receiving touchdown from Rodgers, Roman Wilson will actually slide into my starting lineup over Justin Jefferson. And no waiver wire moves, no trade. So again, it's not going to replace your main fantasy football league, just some extra fun on the side. And that's how I'm able to draft hundreds of teams every year. It's how I won a decent amount of money on Underdog back in the day. And we are going to take DK Metcalf here. I previously would have drafted Devonta Smith. I think Smith maybe could still be the play because you can go Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the 5th round. But I definitely want to get my DK Metcalf exposure up, and getting DK Metcalf here at pick 46 with Rodgers, I feel great about. But yeah, if you wanted to join a draft with us on Underdog, one, you have to be in one of these states. Like a VPN's not going to work. Like Underdog's legit. You have to really provide your location, and they have to guarantee, yeah, he's in California, he's in Texas, he's in Florida, he's in New York, he's in Michigan, he's in one of the states that Underdog has. And if you use promo code FLOCK when you sign up, you'll get that 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, on top of that, you'll get my 2025 fantasy football rankings and draft guide cheat sheets, which we are going to have to move DK Metcalf up as of today. and you'll get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. So make sure you take advantage of that. You can find the link in the live chat description comment section or with the QR code on the screen. But let's move this down. So we have a couple different options of what we can be looking at here. So I'm going to want to get Joe Burrow on the way back. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take Joe Mixon as our RB1 here in the 5th round. And the reason I think I'm going to be able to get Joe Burrow on the way back around is because while I have T. Higgins, we are on the other side of the team that has Jamar Chase. And typically you're only going to see Burrow selected to either a T. Higgins or Jamar Chase start. So if we take Joe Mixon here, which I definitely really like Jalen Hurts in round 5, if we're going to be honest with each other. But I think it does give us a really good shot to get Joe Burrow at pick 70 and have the Burrow and Higgins connection. But this is a really good spot. Yeah, we have so many news blurbs to talk about. So we have the Terry McLaurin blurb. Let's bring all this up. There are so many things impacting drafts at the moment. And I will say again, I know I keep on harping in on this, but this team at 10 is insane. Starting Genty and Kyron at running back and St. Brown, Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley at wide receiver is a ridiculous start. That is one of the best starts I have ever seen this season. Joe Burrow goes at 59, which is weird. I would say maybe that team at 11's on auto, but Worthy and DJ Moore were definitely not top of ADP there. But here are the other blurbs that we've had today. So J.K. Dobbins visiting the Broncos. He's another good football player. We'll see how the team visit goes. We already talked about that yesterday. Amon-Ra St. Brown underwent knee surgery after the 2024 season, expects to be ready for training camp. This will be something to monitor. I'm not moving Amon-Ra St. Brown down my rankings because of this. Anthony Richardson is not going to be at minicamp next week. Reports are his shoulder likely won't require surgery, but what this tells me is Daniel Jones has a damn good job. I mean, a damn good shot at the starting job in Indianapolis. So honestly, if Daniel Jones is the starter over Anthony Richardson, you bump up every player in the Indianapolis Colts offense. I think Daniel Jones is way less interesting than Anthony Richardson in fantasy because Richardson can run the ball himself, where Daniel Jones can't. But Daniel Jones is a lot better for Josh Downs, a lot better for Michael Pittman Jr. than Anthony Richardson would be. And we'll get to the Terry McLaurin news right after this. Let's move this over. And yeah, like we saw previously, that team took Joe Burrow from us. So we're not going to be able to get Burrow. Instead, we will go ahead and we'll take Chris Godwin as our 5th wide receiver off the board. So now running back, we have Mixon. Wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Higgins, Wilson, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin. We have a ton of different options for our quarterback stacking. We can go with McCarthy. We can go with Justin Fields. We can go Aaron Rodgers. We can go Baker Mayfield. So we'll get back to the Rodgers signing and how it impacts the quarterback position in these drafts. But first, let me make our selection at 75. Yeah, Daniel Jones has sneaky rushing upside, but definitely Daniel Jones doesn't have the same type of rushing upside that you would get with Richardson. So don't get it twisted. I mean, we're going to take Caleb Johnson. I think you have to bump Caleb Johnson up rankings as well. I just think if you look at Rodgers in comparison to Mason Rudolph, if you look at Rodgers in comparison to Will Howard, the Steelers' offense should just project out to be a much better offense than we previously thought. So we're going to build around this Steelers' offense right here now. Again, I showed you all my rankings previously. We moved DK Metcalf to be like a low-end wide receiver 2. Caleb Johnson's probably going to be like a low-end RB2, high-end RB3 for me. I'm not going crazy. I'm not thinking Aaron Rodgers is MVP level Rodgers, Hall of Fame level Rodgers. I understand Rodgers is probably a below-average starting quarterback, but below-average starting quarterback plays much better than what we previously thought we were going to get. So here's the next thing that we thought, or that's worth bringing up. Terry McLaurin is frustrated with lack of progress on extension. McLaurin might not report for mandatory training camp. They have Daniels on a rookie deal. This is going to get resolved. I'm not too concerned with Terry McLaurin. And I haven't drafted much McLaurin at all this year. I honestly don't like his price. But if he falls, I will be scooping him up at a discount. Lamar Jackson's contract. We've had some conversations before the draft, after the draft in person last week. I think we're in the introductory stage of what looking at an extension might look like. I know I misread that with Tomato Motto. Bateman did sign an extension as well. But yeah, so there is a lot that dropped today. Like I said, I am not sitting here thinking that the Steelers are all of a sudden going to have the best quarterback play ever. But I do think you have to move them up draft boards in comparison to what the alternative was. And I know there was a lot of smoke with the Rodgers thing the entire time, and it looked like Rodgers was likely to be a Pittsburgh Steeler months ago. But I don't know. Now I think we can be in on it. Yeah, Terry's going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. If they were paying Jaden Daniels a crap ton of money, then maybe it'd be a concern. But Daniels is on the rookie deal. And yeah, I really was not even planning on streaming. We are going to get the... I have to go to like the race pickup to pick up my bib and everything and drop off my drop bags like in 30, 45, maybe an hour from now. So I was not streaming. And then I got the Aaron Rodgers notification. I was like, crap, I have to hop in drafts right now. There's been too much that's happened today. Okay, let's move this over. Kyler Murray goes 91. Luther Burden off the board at 92. I'm going to assume, and of course this is not a guarantee by any means, that we get Baker Mayfield to pair with Godwin. Yep, Jordan Mason off the board, so we are going to get Baker Mayfield. We're going to get a quarterback that had 41 passing touchdowns last season. Here at pick 94 to pair up with Chris Godwin. Bo Nix off the board at 95. Let's see. Egbuka goes 96. And like I said, Pittman had a blurb. What is this? Pittman did not return to Thursday's practice after getting tangled up during a route and limping off the fields. Saying we're not going to get an update on his injury for quite some time. But to be honest with you, I've already drafted Pittman as my most drafted receiver so far this season. At wide receiver 53 is his current cost. The Anthony Richardson injury is good for Michael Pittman Jr. Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback, but the passing volume in Indianapolis will be better with Daniel Jones under center than it would Anthony Richardson. So we will go ahead. I will take Michael Pittman Jr. as our wide receiver 6. In now at receiver, we have Jefferson, Higgins, Wilson, Metcalf, Godwin, Pittman. Running back, we have Mixon, Caleb Johnson, and we have Baker Mayfield stacked up with Chris Godwin. Okay. I know everybody's saying that Rodgers is going to get injured, but yeah, Gucci Broomstick says, as much as I dislike DK, the amount of targets he's going to get this year forcing me to pick him up. Yeah, I have not drafted a lot of DK Metcalf. I'll pull up my underdog exposures to show y'all. Like, I would love to say, oh, I knew this was coming all along. I picked up as much DK. Ooh. Underdog has a gimme. I just actually submitted some pick'ems for the game tonight yesterday, but Underdog also is a gimme pick. So I'm going to be submitting a gimme pick before the game tonight. I'll show y'all that if y'all want to detail it. If not, you do you. But let me look at my current drafts and see how I'm underweight Steelers overall, at least I'd imagine. Actually, that's a damn lie. Never mind. I'm underweight the Steelers running backs. Here's my Steelers exposure. I have 11% Metcalf. That's a lot better than I thought it was. 8% Frymuth, 7% Roman Wilson, 6.5%. So really, I'm underweight the running back, slightly overweight DK Metcalf, and I'm overweight Roman Wilson as well because there's no way Roman Wilson's getting drafted in more than 50% of drafts so far, and we have 7% Roman. And I think Roman Wilson definitely gets the bump up. Now, Cam Scatterboo makes it down to us at 118. Now, y'all know I have said that Scatterboo doesn't pass the vibe check for me. Every single time I see a clip of this dude, makes me like him a little bit less. But realistically, good profile of a running back that was a great receiver in college, has the size to be a 3-down player. Now, the offense is going to be gross for the Giants, of course, but getting him at pick 118, I feel fine with. Yeah, Pat Frymuth is definitely bumped up. I definitely would rather have Kraft. But I mean, if you look at the difference between the Kraft price and the Frymuth price at this point, Kraft is tied in 13 and Pat Frymuth was tied in 22. So for sure, Frymuth does not get bumped up to like Tucker Kraft range. But like Frymuth versus likely Pitts, like I would rather have Frymuth now over Henry, Ertz, Strange. I think you jump them up into like Pitts likely range. Okay. So one thing that I think we need to discuss. I may take Tyler Warren here. No. Running back, we have a couple of rookies. I think we need some early production at RB. Let's take Javonte. So I think Javonte actually should slide up a bit if Dobbins does indeed sign with Denver, because that is one of the potential running backs that could have came into Dallas to disrupt some of the opportunities for the backs there. So we'll mix in Javonte. Clearly we need another running back. My most drafted player in round 11 is probably Tyler Warren. I really like the rookie tight end prices of Loveland and Warren this year, even if it feels like we're getting sucked in. But here's one thing that I want to mention. Maybe Anthony Richardson turns out to not be draftable at this point, and that actually removes a quarterback from the draftable pool, and you add in Rodgers as somebody that you can draft. But if we assume that Richardson is still draftable, and now Aaron Rodgers is that last option that you have where you don't just have like Sam Darnold and then nothing in these drafts, quarterbacks will probably slide down just a bit because you don't have to be as concerned not walking away with your third QB. So we'll see, but my expectations would be, I don't think the elite level quarterbacks slide down ADP much with the Rodgers news. But a lot of those like low-end QB2s, those would be the guys that I'd expect to possibly start sliding down. And yeah, if y'all have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button. And if y'all wanted to come to these live streams instead of watching them as a video after, you can hit the bell next to the subscribe button, and it will tell you when we are live. Eric says, don't get the Scatterboo hype. Slow and just seems average to me. Cam Scatterboo, I have in about 4.9% of drafts. So I've not drafted much of him, but realistically, if we're going to get him 18 picks behind ADP in a spot in which I need a running back, I probably will just go ahead and take him. Okay, so I'm going to real quick take advantage of that. I would look at this if I were y'all as well. Underdog's been doing an insane amount of free gimme picks for the NBA finals. Underdog doesn't like always do this many promos when it comes to the pick'em stuff. So I know we don't usually talk about it this much, but when we have this many picks going on, we kind of have to. Like, if I have a free pick'em, I'm going to take it. I believe what the FSC guys told me in the live stream that they did yesterday was the best thing to pair that with was actually going to be, do we just go with another rookie running back that we have taken like none of? I think we're going to take Tootin here as our fifth RB. Obviously, I don't love sitting here with 3 of our first 5 running backs being rookies with Caleb Johnson, Cam Scatterboo, and Tootin. I haven't drafted much Tootin. I haven't drafted any of these rookie RBs. But simply from a price perspective, I think we probably got to mix them in. And looking at our potential quarterback stacks at this point, McCarthy's gone, Burrow's gone, Fields is gone. We still have Rodgers. We took Baker. I guess we could go Daniel Jones if we wanted to mix that in Indy. But I believe the FSC guys told me that the most juice was going to be on the Miles Turner higher than points and rebounds, which we'll just go points, rebounds, assist. And we'll take Dallas Goedert here. I've drafted very little Goddard, but we don't have a tight end yet. The quarterbacks here aren't going to be super exciting for our builds. We're going to have to draft 3 quarterbacks anyway. So we will take Dallas Goedert as our first tight end off the board in round 13. Let's see. Yeah, 2 at 142, I will pull the trigger on for sure. For sure. Evan says, actually caught my first live stream in 4 years. That is ridiculous, my guy. But happy to have you. But let me move this down. So now we have Dallas Goedert. So overall, I love the team. Wide receiver, Jefferson, Higgins, Wilson, Metcalf, Godwin, and Michael Pittman Jr. Running back, Mixon, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scatterbo, Javonte Tootin. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. Quarterback, Baker, paired up with Godwin. Okay. Well, let me just confirm that this is, because I'm going to do $50 on this. Ooh, can I do? Oh, no. Yeah, I got a max of 50. Let me look at the other picks that I did because I tailed the FSE guys, and I know that's what we want to kind of be doing here as well. Okay. So I will show y'all what I did for this pick'em. Again, I would check to see if y'all have the free pick'em promos for the NBA Finals because Underdog has been doing a ridiculous amount of these. For the finals. Like Underdog always does like a bunch of promos for the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, any of the super big sporting events like that. You kind of got to be looking at the pick'ems in my opinion. But here is our thing. If anybody wanted to tail, we put 50 because that was our max. But, and you get even odds on the Miles Turner. So if you wanted to go lower than 20.5 points, rebounds, assist, it would still be 50 to 175. So Underdog's losing money on this, but it's specifically because they have that pick'em promo. So check your app and make sure you have that. And again, these are the apps that you can do Underdog drafts in. I mean, these are the states you can do Underdog drafts in. You can't do the pick'ems in every state that you can do drafts though. So you're just gonna have to check to see if it's in your state. You'll see the pick'em tab in the app if it's in your state. So let's move this down. I know that this may be ridiculous. No teams have Steelers after us. So we're going to take Cedric Tillman here at 166. Get a quarter. I'm sorry. And then on the way back around, we'll probably reach on Rodgers. Assuming Rodgers hasn't gone, right? Yeah, we're just going to reach way the hell on him. Which I know it seems crazy that we're taking Rodgers this early in comparison to where he was previously not getting drafted and now we're taking him in around 15. But Rodgers versus like Cam Ward, Anthony Richardson, Sam Darnold, I think this is where he's going to slide in regardless. And since we have Metcalf and Caleb Johnson, we kind of want that quarterback stack there. Maybe the smart thing to do would have been taking Pat Frymuth in round 15 and then hoping that we got Rodgers in round 16. But I think our team's so good that I am kind of fine playing it quote-unquote safe with this pick. The Amon-Ra St. Brown surgery news, I'm not going to be overreacting too much. Let me check my rankings on the site real quick and see if I need to be moving Amon-Ra St. Brown down. And as I do this, also, I forgot to say, if y'all sign up to Underdog with code FLOCK, not only are y'all going to get that like free pick'em that I showed y'all that everybody on the app gets, but if you're new to Underdog, you'll get the 50% deposit bonus. You'll get all our rankings and draft guide stuff, and you'll get an additional free pick'em. So you should have, if you join Underdog today or whenever you join Underdog with code FLOCK, you'll definitely get a free pick'em there. So make sure you take advantage of that for sure. But if you joined before the game today, I believe you should have 2 free pick'ems in that case. Let me see where my rankings were with St. Brown previously. Let me also update my dynasty rankings of these guys. So dynasty-wise, I had Caleb Johnson behind RJ Harvey just because I thought Harvey would be more exciting this year. I'm going to flip that, to be honest with you. I'm going to put Caleb Johnson ahead of RJ Harvey in our dynasty stuff. Going over and looking at Metcalf in our dynasty rankings. I'd probably rather, he's just young. He's much younger than Terry. I'd rather have him over Terry at this point. We'll adjust that more when it gets to it. But Metcalf, you only really want on a contender anyway. Let me check out where Amon-Ra St. Brown was in our redraft or our best ball rankings and then see if I need to adjust from there. So I think the St. Brown injury news is enough for me to move him behind Malik Neighbors. Like, I'm not going to overreact to it whatsoever because they're saying he's going to be good to go for training camp. But we'll move Amon-Ra St. Brown to 6. And while Malik Neighbors at 5, then Nico, Brian Thomas at 7 and 8. Okay. I need to move Rodgers up the rankings as well. Parker says, for the draft guides, will there be specific draft guides for 10-team leagues, startup drafts, redrafts, etc.? No, they're going to be redraft draft guides. My dynasty rankings are on the site, but those draft guides that I'm going to be custom making for every format, they're just going to be for redraft. So, yeah, if you're like in a 10-team league, you'll have a 10-team redraft draft guide that you'll be able to reference. We just need to take a tight end. We'll take Kate Otten here. Looking at quarterbacks that are going to be available at this point, you have Dart, Tyler Shuck, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones. Maybe we go ahead and mix in Daniel Jones with the next pick. We definitely want 3 quarterbacks, right? And we do have Michael Pittman Jr. Based off the injury to Richardson, it does seem like Daniel Jones is a little more alive to actually be the starting quarterback this year. This would be the first time I've taken Daniel Jones. And we took Kate Otten as well because he does pair up with Baker Mayfield nicely. So we're going to go Daniel Jones as our 3rd quarterback. Could be a wasted pick, but also so could Hunter right after him, right? So could Ray McLeod right before him. So now at this point, we are going to have to figure out who we're taking in round 18. We have Jefferson, Higgins, Wilson, Metcalf, Godwin, Pittman, and Cedric Tillman at receiver. So we're for sure not taking another receiver. Maybe we should have stopped at Pittman, to be honest. Because we go over in quarterback, we have Baker paired with Godwin. We have Rodgers paired with Metcalf and Caleb Johnson. We have Daniel Jones paired up with Pittman. We're for sure done drafting quarterback. But running back, we have Mixon, Caleb Johnson, Scattaboo, Javonte, and Tootin. Like, I want a 6th running back on this team if I could get one, but our tight end room is Dallas Goedert, Kate Otten, and that's it. So I think we definitely need a 3rd tight end. So we'll probably end up taking a 3rd tight ends in round 18 over a 6th running back, but let me know what y'all think. And Dylan says, Anthony Richardson is my most drafted quarterback. I have drafted a ridiculous amount of Anthony Richardson as well. Anthony Richardson at one point was for sure my most drafted quarterback. I will double check to see if that's still the case. And yeah, that's what I said. So it's good. Like for me personally, I'm hoping Anthony Richardson's good to go. It will be a bad thing for me if Anthony Richardson is toast. But I definitely want to adjust, and I don't want to keep on taking Richardson and no Daniel Jones as if this is meaningless. Richardson is tied for my most drafted quarterback at 14%. So I'm for sure hoping that Anthony Richardson is good to go, but the reality is we have no idea. Dennis says, how are y'all doing? I took 2nd place in one of the Flock League Underdog drafts and won $5,000 last season. That is insane. Congrats, my guy. Super happy for you. And we'll probably do we'll do some Flock tournaments on Underdog again this year. I just need to reach out to him. Will says, Roman Wilson moving up for Dynasty, question mark? Yeah, I've drafted a decent amount of round 18 Roman Wilson in Underdog drafts. And I would say that he's probably going to be moving up for Dynasty purposes as well. I mean, am I sitting here and screaming that Roman Wilson's all of a sudden going to be startable? No. But maybe he goes from being a 1% chance to a 3% chance. Okay, Wicks goes. Samson's probably the best pick, but I mean, we're sitting here with 3 rookie running backs as is, and we really need that 3rd tight end. So we'll take another tight end. We'll just take Theo Johnson. 43 targets last year. Maybe the offense a little bit better this season. But usually we do 3 drafts a live stream. However, I have to go over and do the San Diego 100. I'm pick up my bib and my tracker and stuff. So if y'all wanted to track me when I run the race tomorrow, I'm going to run 100 miles tomorrow. Here's how you'll do it. Maybe I'll probably tweet out the link as well. Follow me on Twitter. But this is what I'm about to go pick up the bib for. Go to SanDiegoHunter.com. And then hit live tracking of runners. You hit this. Should take you over here. This is the course. If you hit participants, I don't have my bib number yet, but here I am, Mason Dodd. Actually, I'm bib number 2. Oh, that is awesome. That's actually really exciting. That was the number I used to have in baseball, so that's exciting. So I'll be bib number 2 if y'all want to track me, SanDiegoHunter.com. But much love, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully I survive tomorrow. Hopefully I get to see you on Saturday night. And yeah, if y'all wanted to join a draft with us, y'all know we are drafting these every single day over there on Underdog Fantasy. I'm actually going to be drafting a team during the race and try to make a little TikTok out of it. But you can find that link to Underdog Fantasy in the chat, description, comment section. Here's a QR. If you want to scan that, that'll be a little bit easier for you. Use promo code FLOCK. You'll get those free picks. You'll get a 50% deposit bonus, and you'll get all our draft guides and rankings. But much love, and I really hope I get to see you out